Good evening, buenas noches todos. So, good evening, friends and family. There are many of us here from all over the world. And we are here tonight. We'd like to thank the people from Christiania and Klein for this space. And we'd like to thank Climate Justice Action for organizing this part of the program tonight. I wonder if you'll join me in a short chant that says, "We claim power, we claim power, we claim power, we claim power. Reclaim power." Oh, okay. Because that's why we are here, to reclaim the power of the people and the spirit of justice that movements across this world bring to Copenhagen, and a hope, not for Copenhagen, but the hope for another world that we create now. Tonight is a space for reflection on our movement in this past few years. And it is a time to celebrate our work. And after our program tonight, there will be a party, a celebration, a dance, and music. And we invite everyone to join together in a huge celebration to energize us for the rest of this week. So, in 1994, the Zapatistas organized in a new way that ignited the imagination of movements around the world. Several years later, we gathered in Seattle and we shut down the WTO ministerial. We have now seen world social forums with tens of thousands of people, and our movements have been growing and maturing in our power, and now we come here in Copenhagen. Copenhagen is a unique moment because it is not like the WTO, it is not like the G8, it is not like the FTAA, where only corporations have access. But there are movements and people around the world that have access to those negotiations that are working hard inside to change the balance of power. We'll cheer more later. So the COP15 is a place where we have access and where we can build inside and outside and where new alliances are coming together. In Reclaim Power, which we'll hear a little bit more about later, we'll look at how now in our movements we're changing those relationships. So tonight, we will first hear from Naomi Klein and Michael Hart. And Tajia has joined us on time, not on time, early, so that's excellent. So we might shift a little bit. But we're going to hear a little bit from them about reflecting on our strategies, our counterpart strategies. Then we may try an insane process of some of you talking to each other to give reflection back. We will hear about Reclaim Power, have some questions, and then Michael and Naomi will close. And then we go to the party. So that's the process. We'll keep.
Hi, everybody. It is so wonderful to be in the liberated zone of Christiania after the colonized zone of the Bella Center today. Now, I don't think that Lisa Fithian received an introduction. She introduced us, but for those of you who don't know, Lisa Fithian is really one of the most forceful, powerful activists in the belly of the beast in the United States. And you probably saw her in films about the Seattle shutdown, the World Bank, IMF protests, the protests against the Democratic National Convention in 2000, when Al Gore was there. And it reminds us that back in 2000, we understood as a movement that the Democratic Party of the United States was no ally of ours. They were the ones tear gassing us and pepper spraying us and attacking us in the streets. We understood that this was part of one system. And unfortunately, a lot of people have forgotten that and convinced themselves that the Democratic Party under Barack Obama is going to save us. But we did know that back in 2000. So it's good to see you again, Lisa. It's good to be here with so many old and new friends. It's so wonderful to be here with my dear friend Michael Hart. And I told Tadzio the other day when we first met that he's actually the reason I'm here in Copenhagen, because he wrote an article making the argument for why this summit, this gathering, was important for taking the movement that we built on the streets in Seattle, in Genoa, the movements of the South that really taught us how to do this, the Zapatista movements, that this represented the next stage of our movement. And for me, I had sworn off summit hopping. I kicked the habit. I haven't been to a summit in at least 5 years. But I make no apologies for being in Copenhagen these 2 weeks. This matters. We're building something powerful. We are taking our movement and our analysis to a whole new stage. I think the air is electric. It is electric. And you know, the environmental movement, certainly in the rich countries, has something of a reputation as being a little bit touchy-feely, kind of let's all hold hands and sing Kumbaya. We're all in it together. Everybody has... I was just getting to the good part. You know, we hear everybody has grandkids. Even Dick Cheney has grandkids. We all want to save the world, right? And it's an analysis that erases class. It erases race. It erases North and South. And it tries to pretend that we are all equally responsible and that we are all affected by the climate crisis in the same way. This is a great lie, and it has been exposed here in Copenhagen. Climate change has been revealed as a class war that is being waged and that has been waged by the rich against the poor. The facts are dead simple. The facts are dead simple. We know what caused the climate crisis. It's greenhouse gas emissions. We know where they were produced. 75 to 80% of them were produced in the rich world by 20% of the world's population. That's you, that's me in Canada, that's the whole EU. We created the emissions that are warming this planet to catastrophic levels. The problem is that out of some cruel geographic irony, the effects of our emissions are overwhelmingly being felt in those countries that did the absolute least to produce this crisis. And here's the catch. We know the truth, we've read the science, and we refuse to change our behavior. So there is a very angry, a righteous anger that is emerging from the global South. And it has a voice here in Copenhagen. It isn't going to end up in the final document of whatever deal they try to sell, but it is finding a voice, and it's a powerful voice. And what the 16th is really about, I think, is making an alliance from the outside with that voice on the inside, saying that we are with you, we understand that this is a class war, we want no part of it, and we're fighting side by side with you. We need to... We owe a debt. We in the rich world owe a debt that we will never repay. We'll never be able to repay, because unlike the way this is covered in the media, as if it's just poor countries asking for money, it's not about money. You can't repair the loss of life, of nature, of biodiversity. But to begin to repair, We need to acknowledge that debt. And what's important about the discourse that's so powerful coming from the Global South right now about climate debt is that we know that economic debt is a tool of domination and enforcement. It's how our governments enforce their neoliberal capitalist policies around the world. So for the Global South to come to the table and say, wait a minute, we are the creditors and you are the debtors. You owe us a huge debt, creates an equalizing dynamic in the negotiations. That's why this matters. It is about power. This whole discourse is about turning the world upside down, or right side up again. And we need to do what we can to be a part of that. I feel it's really an exciting moment, and it's growing fast. Today I had the pleasure of having lunch with Marlon Santi, who is the head of CONAIE, which is the largest indigenous federation in Latin America, and it represents the indigenous of Ecuador. And, you know, it was very sad talking to Marlon today because something insane is going on inside the Bella Center, where somehow solving the problems of climate change means rewarding with special new business ventures the very companies that are responsible for the climate crisis, giving them new carbon markets, allowing them to enclose the final uncolonized spaces. That's what this program that you've heard about called RED, which is about the forests, is really about. It's about colonizing the last uncolonized spaces and turning them into sinks for corporations so that we in the rich world cannot change our ways of life and can keep polluting, and we can say that a forest in the Amazon is absorbing our emissions. This is the last colonial pillage. That is what is on the line. And the great irony is that the people who are once again not only least responsible for the crisis, but are also living most in harmony with nature and have a huge amount to teach us, are not only not being helped by these deals, but these deals are threatening their ways of life. They're being pushed off of their lands, cut off from their resources. It's the world upside down. We have to turn it right side up. We have to be so clear on Wednesday. Thank you.